with a soft, heavy metallic sound, a sound that signaled the immediate separation between the noise of the world and the quiet of the sanctuary. Arthur pushed the door open, stepped inside, and felt his shoulders drop by an inch, then two. Outside the city was a blur of grey concrete and rushing headlights, the relentless hum of traffic vibrating against the pavement. But inside there was only the stillness of the hallway and the scent of beeswax and old paper. He set his bag down on the wooden bench, untied his shoes, and left them by the door. This was the first ritual of the evening, the shedding of the day. Arthur walked through the house, touching the walls as he passed. He did not need to look at them. He knew the texture of the plaster, the cool surface of the picture frames, the way the floorboards creaked in the exact same spot near the kitchen. He opened the curtains in the living room, revealing a view of the garden where the rain had just begun to fall. It was gentle, persistent drizzle, the kind that turned the world into an impressionist painting of greens and blurred browns. He went straight to the kitchen. The kitchen was the heart of the house, a place where the air always felt a little warmer. He did not turn on the overhead light, preferring the soft amber glow of the small lamp he kept on the counter. It cast long, dancing shadows across the cabinets, turning the mundane space into something intimate and private. He felt the kettle. It was an old, heavy whistling kettle, a wedding gift from a lifetime ago. Its copper surface dull and lived in. As the water began to heat, he leaned against the counter, listening to the first hesitant bubbles forming at the bottom of the metal. There was no rush. The emails that had pinged continuously all afternoon were now silent. The deadlines that had felt like mountains for the next 12 hours completely irrelevant. He took down a favorite mug, one he had bought from a street market years ago. It was slightly imperfect, with a visible glaze near the base, a reminder of a person who had shaped it. He dropped a bag of herbal tea into the ceramic basin. When the water finally boiled, the steam rose in a thick swirling column, carrying the scent of chamomile and dried lemon balm. He poured it slowly, watching the water change color as it steeped, deepening into rich golden hue. With the mug in hand, he moved to the living room. He did not reach for his phone. He did not turn on the television. The silence of the house was not an empty thing. It was a companion. He curled into the corner of the armchair, the one with the velvet upholstery that had worn smooth over the years, and pulled a knitted throw blanket over his lap. He stared out the window. The rain had intensified, drumming a steady rhythmic beat against the glass. It was a hypnotic sound, a natural lullaby. He thought about the day he had just left behind. It had been filled with meetings, with urgent voices, with a chaotic scramble to accomplish things that in the grand scheme of the universe mattered very little. But here, in the dim light of his living room, the perspective shifted. The world was vast and he was small, and that was a comforting thought. He did not have to carry the weight of everything. He only had to carry the weight of this moment. He took a sip of the tea. It was hot, soothing and earthy. As he drank, he felt the tension that had been locked in his neck start to unravel. He closed his eyes and focused on his breath. Inhale the warmth of the day. Exhale the release of the day's expectations. After a while, he decided to make a simple dinner. He did not want anything complicated. He walked back to the kitchen and gathered a few ingredients: a handful of carrots, a lonely onion, a stalk of celery, and a box of vegetable broth. He chopped the vegetables slowly. The knife hit the cutting board with a rhythmic shwak, shwak, shwak. He enjoyed the tactical nature of it, the resistance of the carrot, the snap of the celery. There was a profound honesty in cooking. It was a creative act of the way of nurturing oneself. He tossed the vegetables into a pot with a knob of butter and let them sizzle. The kitchen filled with a savory aroma of cooking onions, a smell that felt like safety. He added the broth and a pinch of dried thyme, then turned the heat down to a low simmer. While the soup cooked, he sat at his small dining table and opened a book. It was not a book for work, nor was it anything challenging. It was a worn paperback, a collection of essays about the joys of simple living. He read the same paragraph twice, not because he didn't understand it, but because he liked the way the words felt in his mind. He liked the imaginary of a quiet life, a gardening, of walking, of sitting by fire. When the soup was ready, he ladled it into a bowl and sat down by the window. The rain was still falling, but the garden lights were now on, casting a soft yellow halo on the wet grass. He ate slowly, savoring the warmth, the salt, and the texture of the vegetables. He thought about the concept of time. We spend so much of our time of lives measuring it, tracking hours, weeks, year. But in moments like this, time seemed to stretch and dilate. It felt elastic. It wasn't about getting to the end of the evening. It was about living in the middle of it. He reflected on his home. Every time in the room had a story, however small. The painting on the wall picked up at an estate sale. The rug woven by someone thousands of miles away. The chair, a survivor of 3 different apartments. These things were not just possessions, they were anchors. They held him to the earth, kept him grounded when the winds of life threatened to blow off course. He thought about the poetry of broken things, a phrase that had crossed his mind earlier. He realized that life was a bit like that. We are all pieced together from experiences, from heartbreaks, from small joys and quiet victories. The cracks are where the character lives. The repairs are where the strength is found. He didn't mind his own cracks anymore. They were just a part of the glaze. As he finished the bowl, the house seemed to settle around him, like a tired animal finding its spot to sleep. The creaks in the floorboards were quieter now. The hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen was low. steady heartbeat. He washed his bowl and spoon, drying them with a clean cloth and placing them back in the cupboard. It was a small act of order, a way of tidying up the day so the morning could begin fresh. He walked through the house, turning off the lamps one by one, leaving the room in a soft, dim twilight. He went to the bedroom where the air was cool and crisp. He opened the window just a crack to let in the smell of the wet earth outside. He climbed into bed, pulling the duvet up to his chin. The sheets were clean and crisp, smelling faintly of lavender. He lay there in the dark, listening to the rain continue its steady, comforting pulse against the roof. It was a song that had been played for centuries, a sound that had lured the ancestors to sleep just as it was lulling him. He felt a deep, profound sense of gratitude for the walls that sheltered him, for the day that warmed him, for the simple, unglamorous reality of a quiet Tuesday evening. He didn't need anything else. There was no need to strive, no need to perform, no need to be anything other than exactly who he was in this moment. His mind began to drift. The edges of his thoughts softened. The worries about tomorrow, the early alarm, the inbox, the traffic were like distant clouds fading into the dark sky. He let them go. He wasn't in charge of tomorrow yet. Tomorrow was a guest that hadn't arrived, and tonight was a host that demanded nothing but his presence. He let his breathing slow down further. He imagined the rain washing away the residue of the day, cleaning the streets, hydrating the roots of the trees, and clearing his mind of clutter. Everything was being refreshed. Everything was starting over. He felt the heavy comfort of the mattress beneath him, the way it held him, supported him, allowed him to finally let go of the tension in his muscles. His eyelids felt heavy, fluttering shut, then opening for a brief second to catch a glimpse of the street lamp light reflecting on the ceiling, then closing for good. He was safe. He was home. He was exactly where he needed to be. The room grew quiet. The rain continued its steady, hypnotic rhythm. A soft grey curtain drawn between him and the rest of the world. In the darkness, he wasn't an employee or a commuter or a person with a list of tasks. He was just a soul finding rest, a simple part of the world, sinking into the velvet depth of the night. The city outside continued to turn, wheels spinning and lights flickering, but here, inside the four walls of his quiet home, there was only the slow, steady beat of a heart at peace. The day was done. It was time to sleep. And at this moment, before the dreams took over, he felt a final fleeting sensation of completeness. The puzzle pieces of the day, jagged and desperate, had finally clicked into place. The pottery was whole. The work was done. The silence was perfect. He took one last step. Deep breath, smelling the cool air from the window, and let it out as a long, soft sigh. Sleep came, not as sudden curtain, but as a gentle tide rising up to meet him, lift him away from the shore of the conscious world and out into the vast, calm and waiting sea of rest. Tomorrow would bring its own joys and its own challenges, but that was for another time. For now, there was only the quiet, the darkness, and the soft, steady sound of the rain, and that was enough. It was, he realized, more than enough. It was everything. The end. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more stories. Do also suggest what story you would love to hear next. Have a lovely day ahead. Stay safe. See you until next time. Bye bye, my fancies.